I think in the creative sphere, we all go through those events where it's like we're trying to balance business and personal. You know, we're trying to balance life and the dream, right? You know, like I can relate to that. My nieces and nephew are back home. They're 800 miles away. The hardest part of being here is not being close to them, you know, missing a lot as they grow up. You know, my oldest niece is going to be 13 in October. And she thinks it's the coolest thing that I'm here. But it's like, there are definitely times where I'm like, can I just go be normal for a little bit? Can I go? They call me Gaga. Can I go be Gaga for a little while? You know, and it's like, there is that, like, what do you do to make it all work and make sense? Like, you know, but that's what keeps us moving forward too, is like getting to the level where we do have the freedom and we do have the power to go and show up for a birthday 800 miles away, but also come right back and axe to the grindstone, but also have it covered here so we can go away for a little bit and come back to it refreshed, you know, like building to that point, you know, but you have to, I think, make yourself get there to a point. Like you have to be willing to balance things out. Like you can't just go hard in one direction for so long that you forget about everything else, because
that's not fulfilling.
Yeah, it's not fulfilling. Those relationships are going to deteriorate. Like you know, like we were saying before, you've got to be able to take that step back once in a while and step back into your other roles, you know, so you can come back and give more to all of your roles, you know, so you don't get so burned out on one that it starts affecting the others.
Yes. And to your point, my brother just had his first child and he's in Connecticut. And I don't ever get to see them. So I totally relate to what you're saying on that level. Yeah.
It's the hardest thing, you know, like you go up there and every time the kids are bigger.
I know.
You know, like, you know, I was just telling my sister the other day, like her youngest is going into kindergarten. I'm like, tell her to stop getting big. I'm not going to be able to throw any of them around anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you miss a lot, but at the same time, like, you just have to keep in mind that you're doing it for a reason, and you're doing it to build a life that you can be proud of, and that you can use to impact people, including the people you care about.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so they can look at the blueprint, you know, they can look at, you know, hey, there's a different way to do this other than, you know, what's been prescribed to me in my small hometown. Other than, you know, the way I was raised, like I can step out and try something new. You know, and I think like for creative people who leave their hometowns, who are transplants somewhere else, like I feel a responsibility to my nieces and nephew to be like, there's another way to do things. You don't have to just follow the blueprint of school, job, house, kids, like all of that, all in a line. Like it doesn't have to happen by a certain point. Like,
and that's part of the adventure of life too, though, isn't it? I mean, you've got to be willing to struggle a bit. You've got to be willing to go, okay, I'm going to go through it. It's like my wife right now is in Knoxville working on a film.
Yeah.
And she's going to be gone. She might be back on some weekends, but for the most part, she's gone for the next couple months. I have never raised our two kids by myself for that length of time.
Right.
And we're both like, this is going to be hard. This is going to be difficult. This is going to make it more difficult for me to have time to work on music and creative things.
Right.
But we had talked for a long time about that. If we were going to have success, we knew that was always going to be at least part and parcel what that was going to look like.
Right.
So on the flip side of that, where we're going, this is going to be hard, we're having some of the success we talked about, because this is exactly what we talked about having to deal with.
Yeah.
Once we started seeing that.
Yeah.
So it's to the point about, oh, you're successful. Yeah, but we're still having struggles because you don't upkeep that and maintain that without dealing with those struggles.